Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we have a very spicy donation deck, which I guess I can only describe as green-white up the beanstalk Cloudpost, I guess. So this is actually a list that 5-0'd a league, and the donor really wanted to see it in action, so here we are. So there's a lot going on, so let's just get right into it. Primarily the thing that is changing the way that this whole deck is built compared to normal Cloudpost style decks is up the beanstalk. So we're trying to leverage up the beanstalk, and in order to do that we're playing a bunch more cards like Solitude and Titania, which can go really well with our up the beanstalk. We even have much Otherworldly Light to do it as well. Obviously, Primeval Titan, our big Eldrazi's, and the Green Sun Zenith can also draw us cards from it. So essentially we're trying to find a card advantage engine and slap it into a Cloudpost deck. So what the Cloudpost deck is, for those who aren't aware, this card taps for 1 for each locus on the battlefield, so that includes itself, but also other copies, as well as a Glimmerpost. So you get a few of these in play, and then you're tapping for really large amounts of mana. You can funnel that into an Eye of Ugin to shoot up a big boy and smash people down with it. You also have a little bit of a Thespian Stage Vesuva package to copy your Cloudpost, but they can also use the Thespian Stage to copy a Dark Depths. We've got a few utility lands like Bojuka Bog and stuff in there, and Cavern of Souls, along with crop rotations and Elvish Reclaimers to find them. An interesting one we have here is Selesnya Sanctuary, which allows us to bounce a Glacial Chasm or a Glimmerpost and reuse their abilities, which is kind of an interesting one of doing it. Or reusing a Bojuka Bog, or if we've got like a Boseiju, what we can do is we can Primeval Titan, get Boseiju and Selesnya Sanctuary, and then bounce the Boseiju into our hand. It's kind of a trick that the old Amulet Titan decks used to do in Modern once upon a time. And yeah, we've got all the things you'd expect here as well. You know, we've got some expedition maps, some once upon a times, a nice Collector Ouphe as a silver bullet off of our Green Sun Zenith. Because we're a white deck as well, we've got a few plows. And the way we fit all of this in is by being a Yorion deck. So we have that utility going there. So we're hoping to get a lot of card advantage and just sort of grind through people and go over the top of what a lot of people are doing and just draw lots of cards. Because of that, it means we're going to be weak to some of the combat decks, which is why we got 4 Deafening Silence and 4 Endurance, so we can deal with decks that try and play loads and loads of cards like Storm, or Endurance for graveyard decks that just do something really broken in the first turn or 2 of the game. We can shut that down. We also have Force of Vigor, which is going to be good against some of these Beseech mirror decks, but also things like 8-cast as well. Decks that can kind of snowball around us as well that we just want to ignore. And then when we're up against decks with a bunch of counter spells here, we've got this other Cavern. When we want to kill more creatures, we've got 1 more sword, so we can go up to 8 swords effects in the deck post board. As well as obviously Much Otherworldly Light, which has diminishing returns based on the CMC of your opponent's stuff. It can be a lot of mana to be getting rid of like a bunch of 3-drops and stuff like that. So being in the Source Plowshares is going to be more efficient if we don't have the time to try and leverage the beanstalk. One other card that I feel we have to talk about is Shigeki Jukai Visionary. 2 mana 1/3 legend. You pay 1 and a green and tap it, return it to its hand. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Put the rest into your graveyard. That's a pretty weird one. And it's got another ability as well of XX green green, where you channel it by discarding it, and you can return X non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. So I can get back a bunch of lands that have been destroyed. You can get back the things you've milled from its ability. This is an odd one. I've not seen it in action before or played it at all, so no idea how it's going to fare, and we're going to see how it feels. But it can be a reasonable card advantage thing in the mid to late game as well. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that card plays more than some of the other stuff. But I do like playing up the beanstalk, so I'm pretty happy to jam this one today. I'm looking forward to making some big boys. I've played a little bit of Cloudpost on the channel before, but this is a very different take, and I'm quite excited to see how it pans out. Before we jump in, if you would like a donation deck on the channel like this, that you want to see me play something, by all means get in touch, either via the Discord or leave me a comment and we can sort it out. I charge £15 or like $20 for a donation deck, so pretty reasonable I'd like to think. So if you want to see something, get in touch. But more important than that, remember to just like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything and it really helps the channel out. Okay, let's jam some Selesnya Post. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Alright, round 1 we are against the Yorion deck as well. We have a slight issue here in that we don't have a green source. Now we can play this once upon a time and I hope it finds a green source. Is that good enough? Like, we also can't use this Solitude and this Emrakul, so it's already kind of like a mulligan to 2. So I think we do just actually mulligan a bit more. Alright, this hand is significantly better. Have to keep this one. The question is what goes back here. It's interesting. I think it might be the crop rotation here, because we already have the Reclaimer for that, and we do have like a way of jumping up in mana with those 2 cards anyway. I'd rather just have like an emergency. Ooh, a Mystic Sanctuary. Yeah, an emergency plow if we need it, that we can fetch the white source off of the Reclaimer. Let's play the Reclaimer. Our opponent began with a Mystic Sanctuary, which is not what anyone really wants to have as their first land. So that suggests to me that they don't have another land in hand. And they just had to keep this one. That's a very risky move though. Karakas. Okay. Ploughing our guy. Sure. This turn we can Cloudpost. Next turn we can play the Thespian stage, make it become a copy of Cloudpost. And then turn after our Cloudpost will be tapping for 3 each. Because we'll play the Glimmerpost. Teferi Time Rattler. This should be a match that they're okay with because we can go over the top. Because they're going to be a relatively slow control deck. Resolving a Primeval Titan is going to be the difficult thing, I suppose. But right. If we... try to work out what we do here. If we play out this Thespian stage and we copy the Cloudpost. We can also copy the Forest is the other thing. We're going to need a second green pip. But that's going to take us further away from actually playing our Primeval Titan. We can also go and turn it into a Karakas if we need to plow something. A Ponder from our opponent. Sure. They did not shuffle their library. Okay, so they wanted one of the cards and then they're cycling away to get rid of the other 2. There is a tropical island. So the play here is to copy our Cloudpost here. This means that if we draw a second green source, we can cast a Primeval Titan. But if we don't, then we can play out... Okay. It's interesting. I will play this expedition map. This can get us a Cavern of Souls. Okay, so we're just in with there. I think we just play out this Glimmerpost here. And then we'll fetch. So they don't know the Cavern of Souls is happening immediately. Alright. So we're going to play an uncounterable Primeval Titan next turn. And then a turn or 2 after that we should be able to deploy one of our big Eldrazi's and give our opponent a real bad time. So we could have put Yorion into hand, but not be able to activate our Thespian stage. I'd rather have the access to the Thespian stage and the expedition map. But we'll see what is going to happen here. The One Ring. Okay, that's fine. Like, it's a lot of cards that our opponent can draw, obviously. But we're not trying to target them with anything this turn. And when we do our thing, it shouldn't matter how many cards our opponent have. They should just get absolutely ruined. Alright. Let's crack this. Let's get our Cavern of Souls. Play this. Name Giant. Cast an uncounterable Primeval Titan. This should be pretty powerful. Yes, we would like an Eye of Ugin. And probably just another Cloudpost at this point is good. Alright. If they... How much mana do we need? It's like... So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's not enough to make Emrakul, but we play this, and that gives us plus 4 mana, so that should be enough to make Emrakul next turn. If not, we can at least make Ulamog. Karakasing on Emrakul is not really a thing our opponent wants to do anyway, so... Leyline Binding. Short, we lose a prime time. Okay. Okay, so play this Glimmerpost out. We gain a bunch of life. So this taps for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 7 of that goes into the Eye of Ugin. That gives us 12 mana. Which isn't quite enough for Emrakul yet, but we can Ugin here. Sorry, not Ugin, Ulamog. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so we just go and get Ulamog here. We'll cast this. It's exile 2 permanents here. So we'll take out the Leyline Binding and the One Ring. This will get us back our Primeval Titan, which will get us some more lands. And this is what I mean about this deck just going over the top, right? So now we get ourselves some more lands here. So we can have ourselves a Vesuva, I think. Should we just get 2 Vesuvas? Just have all the mana is probably fine, isn't it? And they can come in as copies of Cloudposts. Alright, our opponent's had enough for good reason. This is the sort of matchup we want to see with this deck. I would like a Cavern of Souls. Force of Vigor has some use here. Not a lot of use, but some. We do not need Plow here. Force of Vigor just blowing up Leyline Bindings is probably better than these Plows. So we can have a couple of those. But I think we're mostly kitted out for this matchup anyway. Solitude is better than Plow because this is a threat and also triggers our Up the Beanstalk and stuff. March of Otherworldly Light. If you're unfamiliar with this one, it doesn't hit Planeswalkers, which is a little bit awkward. But I think, are we trimming a March of Otherworldly Light for another Force of Vigor? Yes, I think so. Maybe we'll trim... Well, one of these is pretty good at doing Up the Beanstalk anyway. So I think we'll just do a 3-3 split here. These can still answer Thortheolingus tokens pretty effectively too. There is an argument for endurance, but I don't think we need it here. Our opponent could have something like a Blood Moon, so maybe we would want the 4th Force of Vigor, but we already have... We do have a basic Plains in our deck and fetches to find it, which can also unlock the March of Otherworldly Light. Let's reveal our Yorion. I don't believe our opponent has Blood Moon or Back to Basics, but it is a possibility. Right, so we have our basics lined up here anyway. So we can turn 1 Cloudpost, turn 2 Forest Up the Beanstalk. That is a nice way to begin a game of Magic the Gathering. We'll find some more land along the way, but this is generally a matchup where our opponent can't kill us quick enough. So we're... Like, they do sometimes have Wasteland Life from the Loam, though, which can certainly rain on our parade. Let's smash down this Cloudpost and see how we fare. We do have a Solitude that we can pitch a March of Otherworldly Light to if our opponent does something that requires it. I do not know what they could do. The earliest thing I'm expecting is Thortheolingus on turn 3, which we can cover while still developing our board. We have to decide if it's worth giving up our 2 cards to stop getting the Monarch. It probably is, but we'll worry about it later. Okay, a Wasteland. That's annoying. Yep, so they're going to fire that off straight away, as expected. And a Ponder, probably shuffling away the 1 card from the Brainstorm, unless the rest is really good. Shuffle their library. So they're probably just looking for Life from the Loam here. Alright. We have our Windswept Heath. So we'll go and get us a basic forest. And eventually, given enough time, we'll just deploy the scary things. Tiger. I guess Minsk and Boo is something that can close the game quickly, actually. Okay, so they have the Life from the Loam here. Understood. We want to draw lands, we're not going to crack this now. So you have a slightly higher percentage chance of drawing a land. Right, let's crack this for green. Probably time for my regular rant about having like 5 colour decks that get to play Life from the Loam Wasteland locks in them. What a world. Alright, so we draw a card with a Beanstalk. It's another land. Importantly, another basic for us to play on. Because we can certainly outpace Life from the Loam if we start putting Primeval Titans into play. Up the Beanstalk. So if we want to, we can pitch the Solitude to the March of Otherworldly Light to help make it be a higher CMC to draw a card, so we can basically cycle our Solitude with the March of Otherworldly Light into our Beanstalk if we want to get rid of their Beanstalk, which is interesting. A Glimmerpost. It's not really what I'm in the market for right now, is it? So if we get ourselves a forest here. So this is 3 mana for 5, so we can get rid of this Up the Beanstalk. Is that what we want to do here? I don't know if we need to be doing that yet. Well, I do want to draw another card with this Up the Beanstalk, because we're going to need more cards. So we have to make sure we keep making land drops. But we can use March of Otherworldly Light to exile the One Ring. If that's what they play here. Just another up the beanstalk. Yikes. Okay, I definitely don't think we can afford to up the beans to get rid of one of these now. We're going to have to save this for something scarier. We do have a land drop this turn. If we don't draw another land, maybe we'll be firing this off. Okay, a crop rotation. I don't hate that one. This means that if they try and wasteland us, we at least get to crop rotate into another land. And we can crop rotate into a Bojuka Bog as well. Right, so let's play this. Let's life from alone this. Not life from alone, let's crop rotate this into Bojuka Bog, get rid of the wasteland. That will kind of give us a lot of breathing room. This might not resolve. Force of negation. Sure. I think we are incentivized to do this much right now. X is currently 4, so this should be a CMC 5 spell. Which will draw us a card with up the beanstalk. This is not necessarily how I want to use this, but we need to keep making land drops here. Another March of Otherworldly Light. It's not exactly what I'm after there, is it? But needs must. Let's see what we have. A Green Sun's Zenith. So this can be for X is 2. Sorry, for X is 1, or it could be for X is 2, but X is 1 is just going to get us the Reclaimer. I guess we could do X is 2 and get that weird legendary guy. I don't think that's where I want to be here. This gives us the ability to exile a 4th Eolingus token with our March of Otherworldly Light if necessary. Sure. Yeah, imagine whatever we were playing was going to get killed then. We may as well hold up the thing and get them to use a plow on a 1-drop rather than using it on a 2-drop and tap ourselves out completely. So they just do a small 4th Eolingus. We can stop them getting the Monarch. They do a big one. Or they do a Minsk and Boo as well. Life from the Loam. There's the Wasteland. Not very friendly. They put Yorion to hand, sure. We're probably going to be doing a similar thing any second now. Because we didn't really have much else going on. Expedition map though. That is good. We'll take that. So the mono green Cloudpost decks tend to have a Pithing Needle in. So we get this Bojuka Bog now and play this. Get rid of the good stuff in their graveyard, including that Life from the Loam, so that they can't wasteland lock us anymore. These decks tend to have 1 Life from the Loam. So now we can start making some lands and eventually play some big boys. But we're going to be back down to 3 mana again because I can't see them not wastelanding our land. I guess they might save it for like one of our actual payoff lands because this Bojuka Bog's already done enough. Let's see what they go for though. Nothing. Interesting. An Elvish Reclaimer. I do not think this is going to live for very long. But here it is. They can just hardcast a Force of Will and draw a card if they want to. They did not. Sure. So now we can shuffle away this Bojuka Bog into another basic, perhaps. Just to play around this Wasteland. Or we can hold up the Reclaimer and kind of invalidate the Wasteland. Because they can never activate it while our Reclaimer is active. What is this? A Solitude. Alright. Not ideal for us. So now they actually have a clock on this game. So we don't have like forever just to draw into the lands to play our guys. And we are still 1 mana down whenever our opponent wants us to be. We don't have something like an Ancient Tomb either to just jump us up to 6 mana right now. Just give me Minsk and Boo. Post combat. Be a weird time to play it. Opponent definitely umming and erring over what ways of paying for the spell they want to try. A Teferi, sure. I don't think they're going to bounce our Beanstalk, but they might bounce their own Beanstalk. And then replay it. They bounced our Beanstalk. That's really interesting. It does cantrip when we just play it. An Uro, yep. That's something we can much otherwise liked when the time comes. It's going to get a little tricky though. Yep, I gone for the Wasteland here too. My opponent should be able to win this game from this position. Alright, so we're going to cast this, looking for a land, and then cast up the Beanstalk. Cloudpost is a land. Doesn't let us cast up the Beanstalk this turn. What is more important to us? Casting up the Beanstalk is more important because they have a Wasteland in play already. they'd found another one. That's right. 4 colour 8 card decks with all their wastelands. I'm very surprised they bounced our Beanstalk and not their own. Okay. We can channel this and return 1 card. That's not great. I don't think we're going to have time to leverage this more either. So they're probably playing Uro this turn. Oh no, they've got Leyline Binding. Sure. Just cantrip in to get rid of our Beanstalk. So is extracting our Cloudpost. Sure. We can certainly win without Cloudpost. That's not the end of the world. We just need to play our things. But I think we're just going to lose to the multiple wastelands. So I'm probably reading Shigeki, Jukai, Visionary, or whatever it's called. I assume that's why this Surging Extraction is taking so long. Obviously, they've got to look at our deck too. But that card is very much a reader. This should be the Uro. Yep. Right, just activating Teferi, going upstairs with it. Alright, there's the Wasteland gone. So now maybe we can actually start making some land drops. Not that we have a lot of time to do that though. Uro is only a 3 mana creature though, so we can March Otherworldly Light it if we find a land. It's not really the one, is it? Let's just go and get ourselves a Reclaimer, sorry. This can check the Solitude at least. And then if we can find a land, we can kill the Uro, provided our spells resolve. Source Plowshares, no longer checking the Solitude. But at least it's a little bit more life to work with. It's not great, but it's what we've got. Right, so now we can't kill the Uro because the Karakas can just bounce it. But we can stop it for a turn. Not great. Solitude. So I think we play out this Jukai, Shigeki, and then we can Solitude the Uro. Sure, they're brainstorming. We can't Solitude the Uro this turn cycle because we're already passed, but I think we can take another 6 here. And then maybe try it next time and overload some counter spells and get something else going. Okay, they are miracling some angels, are they? That is not great for us. How are we supposed to beat this? I think the answer is we don't. Like we are the deck with all the lands in, and we only have 3, and our opponent's got like 1 million. So making some angels over there. I think we're happy to say this game is over. Okay. I wouldn't mind some more middle range threats to do instead of Solitude. Solitude can answer Uro, but we are supposed to go over the top of Uro, and Endurance can answer Uro in a weird roundabout way too. So then we have to decide, are we wanting this Force of Vigor, or are we wanting this March Otherworldly Lights? I think I'd rather have this Force of Vigor, to be honest. And we'll try like this. This is a matchup that should be good for us. But again, these 4 to 5 colour control decks do get to play Wasteland Lock in them somehow. That can sometimes come back to bite us. So, what does our opening hand do? It does some stuff. We don't have a Dryad Arbor to fetch, I don't believe. We can keep this. We can play around Wasteland using this crop rotation. We do at least have the Bojuka Bog to get rid of Life from the Loam or whatever. There's the Wasteland. Alright. What do I want here? Just a basic forest is probably fine. Right, so we traded the crop rotation with the Wasteland rather than our land. Interesting. Would I rather have an Elvish Reclaimer or this Expedition map? I'd rather have the Reclaimer here. This can get eaten by a Force of Negation, which couldn't have hit our crop rotation. So that gives me the impression that's what our opponent has here. But if they got removal, okay, no, it's just a straight up Force of Will. Interesting. Okay. There's a Tundra. And Endurance. Right, let's go for another Green Sun Zenith here. Get a Reclaimer. Place Bojuka Bog now. Get rid of this Wasteland, so we don't have to worry about that later. We now have an Endurance that we can also pitch cast. I don't want to pitch cast it because Primeval Titan is definitely a good place for us to go. Right, there's a volcanic. So we found a Cloudpost. We'll play out this expedition map. And are we fetching a land? I think we probably are. Is the 1 damage worth putting shields down on a potential wasteland? I don't think so. Cracking this flooded strand. It's going to be an Uro or a Teferi. It's a Teferi, sure. Go to this Bojuka Bog. Get ourselves another Cloudpost, I think. We could get a Dark Depths and just present that, but Dark Depths is famously bad against these sorts of band decks. Okay. So we want to crack this for a Cavern of Souls. We can't do it now, but we can go 1, 2 to copy this. Sure. So this taps for 2. Make this into a copy of Cloudpost. This now taps for 3. So we can crack this to get a Cavern of Souls. And then what are we playing here? I don't really want to leave this Cavern of Souls out for a potential wasteland. The question is, are we playing this weird little guy? I want to play the weird little guy. We're going to leave this cavern in hand because we don't want that to get wastelanded. Because if they wasteland one of our Cloudposts, we still make Primeval Titan uncountable next turn. We just don't need to risk ourselves with this thing. Sure, you can save extract our crop rotation. That's not going to make the most amount of difference here. It's not what this game is about at this point. And now we have the endurance. Unsure what difference that's going to make to them, but we'll see. Right, that's not a wasteland. What are we going to see here? Up the beanstalk. That's not the most exciting one. And a leyline binding on our weird little guy. Like, they're just playing the things that they can play at this point. But they know it's going to be very bad for them. I must imagine they have more removal in hand, if they're willing to burn removal on this, when they know we have a prime time coming next turn that they can't counterspell. A giant. Cast this for green, green, 1, 2. Leave us with a mana floating as well. So this is tapping for 3, 4, 5. If we get 2 Cloudposts, we can't get 2 Cloudposts actually, can we? Because then we won't have the mana to do the other thing we're trying to do here. Yes, we'll use its ability. I think we just get the Eye of Ugin. We could get Dark Depths and just put a 20/20 into play, but I honestly don't know if that's good enough right now. I think I'd rather just get more Cloudposts and be able to really go for it next turn. We can turn this into a copy of something else if we want to, but I don't think that's a great use of our mana when it's already a Cloudpost. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we got 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23 mana. So next turn we are going to tutor for Emrakul and cast it. And that should be good enough. Now we can leyline binding it. But then we just tutor up Ulamog. Sure. So this is going to take our Primeval Titan away. That's not going to be good enough though. Unless they got something horrible here. Uro is certainly not what they require here. Force of Vigor will be quite funny here, because we won't actually be able to use it because of the Teferi. But we have our plan set for next turn already. And it's a good one. The biggest and best spell going. Here comes Emrakul. How do you feel about that one, opponent? They don't like it. So as I said, the sort of slower controllier matchups are pretty much where we want to be. The one we lost against them was when they wasteland locked us in their presumably 5 colour decks that were running leyline binding, and we just couldn't get off 3 mana. I think maybe we should have had the endurances in for the second game, just as a thing that can interact with Uro a little bit, but also just pressure planeswalkers and force them to do something instead of just sat there if we're struggling for mana. So while they're leyline, Life from the Loaming, we at least have, if we're playing off basics, can play the endurance and do some stuff. Anyway, we got there. Let's go to round 2. All right, our opening hand is asking for a lot from this Once Upon a Time, but we also have the expedition map as well, so any other land gets us. I think I am going to keep this one. Misty Rainforest. They're cracking this. I'm going to cast this without paying its mana cost now, when they can't daze. We'd quite like a Boseiju just as a green source, but I think... Are we just supposed to take the Cloudpost here? This is a tricky choice. And take the Cloudpost. I might change what our opponent does with their turn, but I think it's right to play around the days. So the reason we could also, if our opponent played like Swamp Thoughtseize, we'd have a choice of whether or not we cast the Beanstalk, the Once Upon a Time or not. And obviously I think we would anyway, because we just want to find a land. I think it's better to let them to not let them do like Dragon's Rage Channeler with potential days for our Up the Beanstalk, not Up the Beanstalk, Once Upon a Time. Alright, an Underground Sea. Is our opponent of the combo variety or of the sort of tempo variety? I would prefer them to be of the tempo variety, because combo is going to be awkward for us. Right, so we'll play this Cloudpost tapped. Next turn we can play map and crack it using the Glimmerpost, because that will give our Cloudpost a bit more juice. A brainstorm from our opponent. I've got the feeling our opponent is on Doomsday. I think I might have played against this player on Doomsday relatively recently. I'm not sure. I play so many games of Magic, it's hard to remember. Certain names just stick in my head for certain decks, but otherwise it's out there. I don't like to look up decks either. I like to sort of go in blind, especially when I'm just playing like leagues and things. Boo! Okay, they're not Doomsday, which is both good and bad for us. The bad side is that they just waste Angelus, obviously. But the good side is that we're going to have a bit more time in this matchup. I bet they're going to daze this. No, it didn't. Okay, that's something. We still need to find another land, though. This Tabernacle, not really going to be cutting it. I would love to draw a basic forest right now. We did not draw a basic forest. Well, this is getting awkward, isn't it? We will play out the Tabernacle. It's just use that one of our land drops. Maybe we can crop rotate away at some point or whatever. Fetch the thing. Are they going to just hard cast a daze here? They're going to cast a Brainstorm. For our deck that's built a lot around lands, maybe we should be drawing more. Well, obviously, we did keep a hand that required us to draw some more mana here. We haven't drawn any mana. The only land we found was via the Once Upon a Time. Force of Will on the Expedition map, sure. Let's just play out this land and pass. I haven't got anything else going on. Never know. Maybe they'll play an Urborg and help us out. I don't think that's going to happen, but I could dream. Right. Underground Sea. Back over to us. Well, they're giving us time. How about this one? We might get Sauron's Ransomed here, and that will put our opponent firmly in the scam category. Alright, just Bowmasters. That doesn't impact our deck that much. Although Up the Beanstalk certainly expose us to it a little bit. That's not really what we're doing. So now they're going to have to pay for both of these guys. That's going to take up a lot of their resources just to keep these guys alive if they want them. Alright, Tabernacle is officially doing something. A Solitude. I don't think we need to worry about doing Solitude stuff until we're ready to play an Up the Beanstalk. We want to get rid of this Bowmaster. I'm quite happy for my opponent to just keep tapping down their mana sources. In case we get Thoughtseized, we can't really yield through the turn, can we? Because maybe that means that we cast a Solitude. I kept effectively a 2-lander and haven't drawn another land yet. So it's a bit awkward for sure. I'm not including the Tabernacle as a land, but I am including the Once Upon a Time as a land. Oh, that's very mean. Very mean indeed. Troll of Khazad-dû. That's a pretty good one to Solitude. If they have the ability to reanimate it. There it is. Let's see if we can get rid of it. We could have waited till our opponent's turn, but I'd rather they not have the mana. Because they just played... Oh my god, we found a land. We didn't get to cast anything, but we found a land. That's halfway to being able to do something. Once we start cracking out these expedition maps, they'll feed each other and we'll be alright. We just need to dodge wastelands for a bit longer. Alright, no land yet. Okay, they're flashing in Orcish Bowmasters here to grow the first little army. Let's give them 1 additional point of combat damage. No Wasteland. Can we find land? We cannot find land. Alright. Swamp cycling, sure. They must be getting close to being able to hardcast some trolls if that's the thing they're interested in. Sure, we're going to take some damage here. Another Bowmaster is going to take slightly more damage. Right, this is a very real clock now. We are certainly not doing up the beanstalk type stuff. 3, 4, 5. So this is a 2-turn clock. Bojuka Bog is very funny. I appreciate that deck. I can certainly enjoy how amusing that is as a draw right there. Alright. Sometimes the cards are not with you. And that's fine. Because sometimes they're not with your opponent. So, no, we certainly went into this hand knowing that it could possibly go awry for us. The fact that we've missed on land so many draws is not great. So, we don't get to play any spells this game. Understood. So we could play a Collector Ouphe here, but we still die. Can't chump block anything. Yeah. Alright. I would like another land in our deck. Cavern of Souls is a good one. I would like some out of Endurances as well. March of Otherworldly Light isn't the most exciting thing. But if we're trimming on white cards, then our Solitude gets a lot worse as well. Our Solitude gets worse. Maybe we're supposed to be playing another plow over some of the Solitudes. We can obviously still draw, or maybe we're supposed to have the marches. So March doesn't kill Troll, which is kind of the scariest thing. I guess it can do. Let's do a 1-1 split. So the Endurances can be useful for sure. They can certainly mess with our opponent's graveyard in certain situations, but it's just a nice creature as well that lines up well against a lot of their things. No green sources. I guess this is a mulligan. A basic forest, yes please. Alright, I like this hand. It's got access to some more land as well down the line. We have to make a decision on... So we're keeping this. We have to make a decision what we throw back. I think it's either the Up the Beanstalk or the Endurance here. I think the Endurance is going to go. Opponent's mulligan to 5, which is nice for us. Will help us out. So we will do our free Once Upon a Time. I like a lot of these cards. I think we just want another Cloudpost though. And we'll play this, which is going to be a thing they're going to want to deal with. It's obviously an incredibly powerful thing. So next time we can play Cloudpost and Expedition Map. Fatal Push, sure. So there's the answer. Flagstones. Interesting. I think we are just playing the Expedition Map here. They can daze this, but I just want to get this Cloudpost down. It doesn't matter if we play the Cloudpost before or after. It just gives us our opponent slightly less information about what our hand is like in terms of when we play out the Expedition Map. Right, let's cycle this Troll. Are we going to see it reanimated on the same turn cycle? Maybe we will. We are. Okay. There is now a clock on this game. Understood. Thespian stage. We could go for a Marit kill next turn. That's probably quite good here. We don't need to telegraph what we're going for, because they might think we're just going to copy the Cloudpost, untap and maybe jam a prime time. And instead we can just make a 20-20 and try and kill our opponent that way. I don't believe our opponent should really be messing around with Brazen Borrowers in their deck right now. A Dalthy Voidwalker. Alright, if we'd have kept the Endurance, we'd be on a less of a clock right now, but sometimes things don't work out the way you want them to. So, we want to copy this now to dodge Wasteland. They have a Brazen Borrower, that'd be real sad. I don't think they should have Brazen Borrowers in post-board against us, but it depends what the texture of their sideboard looks like. What sort of tools they actually have access to in this match. They could have Shoulder's Edict, which is fine, but I think bouncing prime times and stuff is useless. But being able to kill them would be good. So Shoulder's Edict is the thing we're trying to dodge, I would say. Alright. Found a way to make a Merit Lage. That made me happy. Sure. So, do I just want more removal to try and slow this game down for the post-board games? Maybe that's what we want to try here. So if we got all of these tools, what are we looking at trimming away here? Maybe we don't want crop rotation. I know it's kind of an essential thing for us. But maybe we don't want crop rotation against the counterspell deck. We don't need this Collector Ouphe. That should have come out already. That's my mistake. So if we take out these crop rotations, that leaves us only finding one more gap. We could probably trim Once Upon a Time here. Let's try and play a slower game. Just making sure that we don't get clapped by any of their little guys. Sure, we'll try this. I'm not convinced it's right, but it's something I want to try out. So, yuck. Why is our deck not wanting to draw any lands? On the plus side, at least, it's an easy mulligan. Okay, so we have 2, 3. Yeah, we can keep this one. We get rid of the Chasm. That's not really what I'm about. We'll cast out Pain's Mana Cost. We're looking for another land, I would say. Thespian Stage, Windswept Heath. I will take this Windswept Heath, please. Alright, opponent. I think our opponent probably takes the Green Sun Zenith here. That would probably be my pick in this situation. Unless they are all in on trying to ride this grief to victory. Okay, so they're probably reanimating this turn and trying to make sure they can win the game. So we're going to take our Green Sun Zenith as well. Okay, just a wasteland. Interesting. Didn't really want to draw a 10-drop right now, if I'm being honest. Cycling this Troll. Sure. Really feeling the lack of Pith of Noodles in our deck. So I think we're going to see a reanimated Troll rather than a Grief. Yep, there it is. Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale. If I play this, it'll get wastelanded or it will slow them down. How meaningfully will it slow them down is the next question. Alright, so I think we go and get ourselves a forest. We get ourselves another forest. We still have this white source in hand for when we need to cast a plow if we find one. But being able to turn our non-basic into a basic is quite handy there. Obviously we're just going to get killed in a few swings of this Troll. A Grief, sure. So probably losing the Green Sun Zenith here because nothing else we have really matters. Unless they just want to reanimate our Primeval Titan and fetch 2 wastelands. Which would be terrible news for us. I took the Green Sun, okay. I think if you have the reanimate there, you definitely take the Primeval Titan. Oh, really? That's weird to me. Why don't you just get the Primeval Titan, get 2 wastelands out your deck, and then how are you supposed to lose that game from that point? Whereas now, if we kill the Troll, the Grief is not going to be the most amount of turns. You know, it's going to be a mid-sized clock instead of this absolute smashing that we're getting right now. Alright, let's force our opponents. They're probably just going to wasteland this. But that gets the wasteland out. Then we take 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have to find a source to Plowshares on our next turn to deal with this Troll. And then the turn after we have to find another one to deal with the Grief. So we are very much under the gun. Our opponent's hand was pretty darn good. Once Upon a Time. What does this do? I guess we can find Glacial Chasm, but that's not going to win us the game. An Elvish Reclaimer can't do anything. No, we just absolutely boned there. Yep. Alright. That was a pretty tough one. Because they have a quick clock that we need to do something about, as well as ways of disrupting our lands. Yeah, just real grim matchup, I suspect. Let's go to round 3. Alright, we're on the play. Again, we've got a 1-lander. What is wrong with our deck here? I don't think we can keep a 1-lander. I've been burned too many times. Alright, we just got lots of lands now. But honestly, the way this game's been going, I think I just want to keep the many lands hand. We've been off of one of the stages. Let's say done. I think we'll begin with a Savannah here. We can crop rotate if we need to. We are just basically going to play a turn 3 Merit Lage hand here. Scrubland. A Thought Seize. That's fine. They can take one of our crop rotations. But we still have another one. To grief us here, I think we crop rotate. Okay. We're kind of all in on what we've got here, but it'll do. So what do they pitch to this? Another grief, sure. So I don't get to take any of our cards here. We do have a Emrakul Aging coming soon. Okay, we actually have expedition maps. So we can kind of rebuild a little bit if this doesn't work. But we are going to be shutting down the amount of permanents we have in a big way if this doesn't work. And this Vesuva, the way we're playing, is not going to do anything until we find another land, because it can't really copy Yavimaya. Well, it can, but it's obviously not going to be great for us. Now, they're showing us white mana, so Source Plowshares is very much a thing that we might have to worry about here. But we're not all in, well, we're kind of all in on this dark depths, but it's not the only thing our deck does. So we can try and rebuild. They know everything we have. They have perfect information because we played the card we drew. Ugh. Disgusting. Sure. Alright, so we're now off that plan. Understood. Right, let's play Yavimaya and pass. Go to Plains, we're going to see... Well, I wonder what we're going to see here, actually. We do not have another Dark Depths, I believe. So we're going to go get ourselves a Cloudpost. Next turn, Vesuva copies Cloudpost. The turn after, we get Primeval Titan. Right, we've been hit by some discard. We could get hit by some more. But if they're not playing spells, this is going to be a Bowmasters. But I think it's probably higher upside for us to go for this Primeval Titan play in a couple of turns. Because our opponent does not appear to be a counterspell deck. So if we cast this Green Sun Zenith, if we're going to get a Primeval Titan, and we're probably just going to win the game. Now, we do have to worry about Opposition Agent. Call of the Ring. So this is a bit of a weird one. So this is beginning of your upkeep, the ring tempts you. Whenever you choose a creature as your ring bearer, you may pay 2 life if you do draw a card. Okay, interesting. Maybe they're like black-white shadow. And they're using that as a way of losing some life. So this copy is Cloudpost. So if they wasteland our Yavimaya, we can turn Thespian Stage into a Yavimaya, and that still gives us Primeval Titan. Does that give us Primeval Titan next turn? No, it doesn't, right? It only gives us 6 mana. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So we'll be 1 shy if they wasteland our Yavimaya. Thoughtseize. Well, that's annoying. For sure. But it was always a possibility. At least their clock isn't very scary right now. We have a lot of mana. A Solitude. Can't cast that right now. But 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 mana. So we can play this, and we can go and get ourselves an Ulamog. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, so we can actually get an Emrakul next turn. Okay. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then 2 on the cost reduction. 14, 15. So we have exactly Emrakul mana. If we don't have Wasteland or Thoughtseize. Actually, no, we beat the Thoughtseize. It's just the Wasteland, right? If they do Wasteland us, maybe we get the Ulamog. That's not a Wasteland. I think we're okay. Unless they play... Oh, we're supposed to crack in response there in case there's Opposition Agent. That was a mistake. Yeah, we've played around the Thoughtseize, but have played into the Opposition Agent. If we find a white card, we can Solitude. We kind of need them to cast a spell here. On the plus side, if they do Opposition Agent away one of our big Eldrazi's, at least they won't be able to cast them. Recruiter of the Guard. Interesting. This can get a grief. So we won't fetch in response. What are we going to go for here? A Solitude. Understood. Am I better off blowing up their permanents? Or am I better off taking an extra turn? That is the question here. It's not that clear cut either. Because we know they have the Solitude. Right, we'll just get the Ulamog, I think. Because if we have the mana, we can put this into our hand. Alright, that's interesting. Alright, this gets us a Plains or a Savannah. There's a Savannah here, isn't it? So, 3, 6, 9. Yeah, sure. So we can cast up the Beanstalk first. If we want to. We don't care if our opponent makes a slightly bigger guy here. Like, a few extra little pings is not going to matter in this game, I don't believe. Yep, so this gives us exactly Ulamog mana, I believe. Unless I've made a horrible miscalculation here. Cast this. Alright, so we put the Beanstalk triggers on the bottom, and then the Ulamog. The Ulamog will blow up this Bowmasters, and will blow up this Ringbearer as well. And if they want to exile this and gain us a load of life, that's also fine too. Glimmerpost, sure, of a Soover. So they're going to have to Solitude this, which means we just untap and make Emrakul. We have a Solitude now to deal with Opposition Agent. Alright, so just ploughing our guy. Another Orcish Bowmasters. Sure, it's not the most troublesome thing. We're back to 1,000,000 life over here, so. I would like to find a Karakas. We're going to be in the final stage of this, which does give them more damage. Okay, a Wasteland. So that's going to take out our Eye of Ugin here. Right, that's a little bit awkward. Another Solitude. Interesting. So we can gain a bunch of life with this Glimmerpost. And then turn this Cloudpost into a basic island or whatever. So I think we do that. Buy ourselves a bit more time. Maybe we can try and ambush one of their things in combat from now on. Yep, so they're fully into the old ring town over there. We plough this now, because next turn we're going to be doing Solitude and drawing extra cards. Obviously their ring bearer is going to make us lose 3 life, but I would rather have the drawing cards without giving them a board, I think. Right, so turn on our Solitudes for the next turn cycle. Expedition map is not unwelcome here. What do I want this Vesuva to be is the question. Probably just a Cloudpost, I think. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3. So this will cast a Solitude, which means we can pay 1 mana for this Expedition map and then crack it in our opponent's turn when their shields are down in terms of potential opposition agents. Alright, so now we crack this. We could get a Tabernacle and just kind of ruin our opponent's day that way. Or we could just get a Glimmerpost and keep ourselves alive for a bit longer while we draw some more cards. I like that. We have a choice about what we're killing here, but they are going to get the pings off of the Bowmaster anyway. So maybe we kill the Recruiter and then block the Bowmasters. That'll be a pretty good play. Ephemerate on their Recruiter of the Guard. I think this is worth casting this now. White, white, 1, 2, 3. Yep, you do get to ping us a little bit, but you don't get to tutor for a scary guy. And this will fizzle the Ephemerate, so we go straight to the graveyard, so they won't get the value next turn either. We do still have a Solitude if we want it. Solitude has been in our opponent's hand for a while as well. So I can't block the Bowmasters with our Solitude. We've done like 13 damage to themselves so far. Here comes a Solitude pitching a Samwise. Okay, so we're going to lose our Solitude here. That's fine. We were kind of expecting that to happen. We'd probably be tempted to even throw it under the bus. We've got 2 cards for it. They're going to cast a Samwise, I think, here. Lorana the third part. So I'm going to get rid of one of our Beanstalks. Surprised they didn't do that the other way around and then Samwise back their Solitude. Oh, they're griefing us, aren't they? Right, let's evoke this Solitude. We've drawn a blank card. Not great. This is going to have to kill their Orc army, I believe. So that's very much the biggest threat. Sure, they get to loot. And this Bowmasters does ping us for 4. Maybe we were supposed to get rid of the Bowmasters, actually. Let's deal 4 damage a turn which isn't much different to 5, and it's got other text on it. I guess we'll just play out this Cloudpost. This will give us the maximum amount of life off of this Glimmerpost, which we might require to stay alive. We can turn our Thespian stage back into a Cloudpost, because we can always play this Windswept Heath if we need a Solitude. Also, if we'd have killed the Bowmasters with the Solitude, that saves us 3 life on that turn, but the next turn they just make another Ring Bearer. So, yep. Here they go. Let's copy a Cloudpost. I think our opponent is going to Wasteland our Cloudpost in response, but that's fine. No, they might just go for our Savannah. Or I might just hold open the Hardcast Solitude. Crop rotation, that doesn't really get us anywhere, does it? So we'll play this Glimmerpost. It gives us 10 life. We can crop rotate for Glacial Chasm. Maybe we're supposed to do that already. I want our opponent to tap out for some more stuff. Let's get Opposition Agented, maybe. Haven't seen one yet, but I imagine there is one in their deck. At least as a Recruiter of the Guards target. Alright. They have a Wasteland here, which is kind of the problem. So maybe we don't go for the Glacial Chasm, maybe we just go for the Glimmerpost. That weird little guy that returns a bunch of stuff to your, from your graveyard to your hand would be pretty nice about now. So I think what we might be supposed to do here is turn our Cloudpost into a Wasteland. And we can Wasteland the Wasteland, and then Glacial Chasm keeps us alive for a little bit if that's the thing we need to do. Tricky. A tricky one, this. Let's see if they want to do anything with this Wasteland. They might just Wasteland our Thespian stage in response. But that's fine, because it still means that we can have crop rotation or Glacial Chasm just drawn and be useful. They're getting rid of our Cradle of Growth. This means our Cloudpost doesn't become anything. It just stays as a Cloudpost. Samwise the Stout-Hearted. Alright, that's not great for us. It means they get this Wasteland back, so the Glacial Chasm will not work as a way of keeping us alive now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage in play. I'm going to pay 2 life here. They've drawn so many cards off this Caller of the Ring. It's not a card that I've been remotely impressed by in the past, but it didn't work here. Well, I think the Wastelands have been the thing that's really done the most work for them. Alright, deck. This keeps us alive. Right? No, wait, this is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, we are just dead here, aren't we? Yeah, we just drew awfully there. That was a real shame. So, our opponent's deck is just sort of like some guys, really, isn't it? So, a little bit more removal. The endurances are probably going to line up quite well against some of their things. I don't think we need Cavern of Souls. What do I not like here? Do not require a Collector Ouphe. As much as I really like, does seem pretty good. Titania. Like, this can just get out of hand very quickly, so I think that's a nice thing to have. I'm not really convinced by this guy. Like, it would have been good in that last situation. Maybe we don't want these beanstalks. Is that wild? Maybe that's wild. So there's just a bit of a liability versus the what do you call it? The Bowmasters. What does this hand do? It's a little bit slow. It doesn't really go anywhere. But it does allow us to just make mana. It's pretty Thoughtseize proof. I guess we keep it. Put mana into 6. Do need to make a decision about what land we're fetching to play our Expedition map this turn. It's not an easy choice. We do have another green source in hand, but we would definitely require... I guess we need double green for endurance as well. This is our primary colour, so let's go for this. Selesnya Sanctuary. Interesting. We'll play this out, and we'll do some expedition mappings shortly. There's a swamp. Haven't seen any dark rituals from our opponents, so I'm not expecting them. I think we are okay to crack this now and get ourselves a Cloudpost. Let's play our Cloudpost and pass the turn. Samwise, sure. So this is just going to get them back their land drop. There's a wasteland. Are we losing our Cloudpost? We are. A Dazzly Voidwalker. That's not a bad one to try and kill with a little friend soon. Oh, jeez. Surge of Extraction on the Cloudpost. Okay, that's not that great, really. Don't really have anything good to cover with Vesuva. Sanctuary feels like a bit of a liability with the old wastelands our opponent has. I guess we'll have another forest. We can kill this Dazzly Voidwalker when we feel the need, which will probably be in a second, to be honest. I suppose by waiting this long to do the Solitude, we might risk them ephemerating the Dazzly Voidwalker, which could be a bit of a pain. I think we do need to Solitude here. We're going to stack the triggers the other way around so this doesn't go underneath the Dazzly Voidwalker. So we'll get rid of this. So not the other way around, the usual way around. We could have stacked it the other way around to make sure it goes into the void so that they can't cast a reanimate on it. But this way, it's in our graveyard if we get the... And then we brought out the guy that lets us get the things back, didn't we, actually? So yeah, maybe we should have just put this under the void, but then we do risk further Dazzly Voidwalkers being able to cast it, so... I don't know, it's an interesting trade-off, what you play around. Opponent probably has enough of their own white removal that us having a Solitude in the graveyard isn't going to make enough difference. Okay. Cavern of... Once Upon a Time. Sure. Let's do this. Try and find something, because we just don't have any action here. Eye of Ugin is going to be too slow to do anything. We'll just play this Endurance, I think. And then we'll play this land out, bouncing our Boseiju. And hope not to get wastelanded. Right, I'm just playing another Samwise to get further into the ring type stuff. They can just bring back this Samwise. I'm surprised they don't get the wasteland there. Or maybe they're just going to speed run through the ring. I don't know what to call it. It's like, it's not a dungeon or anything, but it's kind of like, yeah. So now they're into the looting stage. So maybe they'll... I guess they can't... No, sorry, they can't get the wasteland back. It has to be a card that died this turn, doesn't it? Apologies. So they're just speed running through the ring here to try and get them to get 3 additional damage whenever the Samwise connects. Okay, so now it's mega bad for us, because now they can play the Samwise and get back the wasteland they've just played. They know we've got an Endurance, but we can't pitch cast it. They also can't wasteland us off of casting the Endurance, at least. A Dazzly Voidwalker. Sure. Okay, so not going back the wasteland, that's something. Maybe they think that they've already taken our Cloudpost, so they don't have to worry about us having lands. If you find a Primeval Titan and can cast it, then that's just going to be pretty good anyway. Okay, I guess we'll play out this Boseiju. Hold up this Endurance. Not that it's going to really do a lot. Just nothing we have is lining up very well here. Would I rather cast this crop rotation or have an Endurance in play? We don't have any Cloudposts in our deck. I think I'm just going to put Endurance into play. Be done with it. I don't think we're winning this game. We just haven't drawn much business at all. See, part of the problem is we are an 80 card deck now, so the chance of us hitting our Primeval Titans are a lot less. Not that we can even cast Primeval Titans now because we're so far behind mana-wise. I'm not sure how we're supposed to win this one. Our mana's just not really coming together. A Savannah. I suppose we are playing this tapped Bojuka Bog here. And going to bash our opponent. Not that I think that's going to be a way to win this game. Samwise, sure. So they're just going to go up to the next stage of the ring. They can do that next turn as well and deal us exactly lethal damage here if they want to. Let's see if they see the line. I suspect they will, because they've been playing relatively tight this game, I would say. So they cast the Samwise. They're going to the final stage of the ring, which is 3 life. Yeah. That's the end of that game. Yeah, we are really feeling the issues of having an 80 card deck here. It just doesn't feel like we're doing our Cloudpost thing as reliably as other decks are. more difficult for us to draw the payoffs, which is a bit of an issue. And it's also more difficult for us to get going because we've got to go through more cards to find the pieces. So a little bit awkward, but we'll keep going. We'll go on to round 4 now. Okay, this is effectively a one lander again, so I don't think we can keep it. This one looks more like the sort of hands that we've been wanting. I'm kind of reluctant to throw this Primeval Titan back just because of how ruined I've been getting by not having payoffs. And I think the way our deck's constructed as an 8-card deck means we're more incentivized to try and keep payoffs. So I'm going to keep this and throw away 1 crop rotation. Okay, so what are we playing here? I think we're just going to play out a Cloudpost and then we can use it to play an elf next turn. Or we can use it to play map and... No, we can't play map and crack map. We can just play map. Interesting. Swamp. We're going to Thoughtseize here. We are. What are we going to lose here? Green Sun, Crop, or Expedition Map? I think Expedition Map is kind of the one I want to lose the least at this point, just because we don't have that many actual lands. But our opponent will know how many sort of wastelands and stuff effects they have in their deck or in their hand, and they'll judge accordingly. Right, I took the Green Sun Zenith. Alright. Another Cloudpost. Play this. Play this. And pass. Please don't wasteland me, opponent. A Swamp. Okay, so we're probably looking at... Oh no, it feels like it might be on some sort of Beseech combo deck here. Which explains why I took the Green Sun Zenith, because they don't want us to go and get a Collector Ouphe. Which is pretty understandable. Soul Guide Lantern. Okay. It's basically just telling me that our opponent has Urza Saga in their deck. Which is not a surprise. Another Thoughtseize. This time we'll use the crop rotation for sure. Actually, is that for sure? It depends what sort of timescale they're trying to go off. Okay, they're taking a Primeval Titan. That means they're not trying to kill us next turn. So we might have a little bit more time. A March of Otherworldly Light is interesting. But I don't ultimately think it matters that much here. So we will go and get ourselves... This is kind of a difficult choice, to be honest. I think it's the Thespian stage here. And then we play the Thespian stage and we can turn it into a Cloudpost. But then we can also turn it back into a coloured source if that's what we need. If we need, like, green or whatever. Or I guess we can always just crop rotate into Yavimaya as well, if that's the thing we need. And there's a Saga. This is something we get to blow up with March of Otherworldly Light, which is nice. I'm not expecting Wastelands from our opponent now, because we've seen all these sorts of nonsense, yeah. We can get punished for not holding up this crop rotation, though. But the fact they didn't take the Primeval Titan and they left us with a crop rotation did make me think that our opponent wasn't trying to win the game this turn. So maybe they just baited us good there. Alright, so they're going to go for this. Is this a clean Beseech line? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they Beseech, sacrifice that. Then they play the Petal and the Diamond. That's still not Lethal Storm. But they can... storm off in a different way here, right? White mana. Okay, so it's an ad nauseam line. Okay, so the crop rotation would have made a difference anyway. Let's see how much of the deck we get to see before they kill us. Beseech the Mirror. Ad nauseam with 4 drops in your deck is risky. Just keep revealing all these high spells, please. A Grindstone. Oh, they're playing the deck that I played. They're playing my deck from the other week, the Mono Black Painter deck. I see. Yeah, this deck was pretty cool. So, I don't know if they've played a land yet this turn. Was that this turn? They've gone Urza Saga with 1 counter, so they have played a land this turn. So they do need to keep going if they want to win this turn, right? But they don't need to win this turn. They can just wait and then kill us next turn quite easily. We do have a March of Otherworldly Light though, so we're not stone cold to this. There's a Mox Opal. Oh, interesting. They've had enough. That is interesting. I I think they have this game most of the time, right? They don't know about this much Otherworldly Light. Next turn they untap. They have 4 mana here because I play the Vault of Whispers. So 5 mana plus a Dark Ritual, 6/7. That's enough for Grindstone Painter. We do have Emrakul in our deck actually, which is probably what's bothering them. Alright. But they could have at least done it and seen our whole deck, and that would have been quite useful. So, Force of Vigor in. Deafening Silence in. If our opponent's deck is how I remember, I think it might have a Shouldred to have access to. So I'm not big into these Plows and Solitudes. And is Up the Beanstalk too slow? Titania can just provide a quick clock to end the game when the time comes. Maybe we'll trim 1 Beanstalk because we're not planning on the game going that long. How do we answer a Shouldred? We Ulamog it. That's probably acceptable. We can also match Otherworldly Light if we have to. We don't care that much about Painter because we are an Emrakul deck. So we could also play the Endurances to stop Gaia's Will lines. Maybe that's a smart thing to do. But again, you can only sideboard so many cards. And it's just better for us to have access to the things you brought in my opinion. If we keep this hand, our Once Upon a Time has to find us a green source. And then what does we do? We do have double Cloudpost. Sure, we can access our much Otherworldly Light through the Flagstones. I'm not a big fan of this, but... Right, as a Saga, maybe they're just on the as a Saga train. A Grindstone, sure. So they'll use the Solgar Lantern out of the... Actually, no, they had the Solgar Lantern last turn, right? Last game, so they could have used that to exile our grave. Yeah, they totally had us on toast last game. Don't know why they conceded. Right, let's cast it out, paying its mana cost. We found a forest if we want it, but I think we want the Glimmerpost now because we have the Savannah already. So, I think we are inclined to play the Savannah here. And we will March for the Otherworldly Light this Saga. I do love the old 1 mana Wasteland there. Still trying to work out why our opponent conceded in the last game. They definitely had the win. Another Saga, sure. We can see here. A Lotus Petal with 1 mana floating. Another Lotus Petal. I think our deck might be too slow for this. A Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay. Infernal Tutor. Are they cracking Lion's Eye Diamond? They are. Is this just a clean Beseech line? 1, 2, 3. I think this is a clean Beseech line, right? They Beseech, get rid of the Grindstone. Sack the Lotus Petal in response. No, yeah, they use the Lotus Petal for the mana. Sacrifice the Grindstone. Replay Lotus Petal after they get the Gaia's Will. They can replay Lion's Eye Diamond, Lotus Petal. And then recast the Beseech the Queen. No, sorry, not Beseech the Mirror. Get Tendrils. Yeah, so this should be deterministic, I think. Haven't done the full mass on how many spells it is. We're on Storm 5 right now. They got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so this is deterministic now. Yeah. Yeah, this is the deck I played on the channel the other day. It was very good. Nice to see some other people playing it. Saying they're just going to ruin me with it. Yeah. They shouldn't have conceded game 1 though. So maybe we do want these Endurances. Just have maximum amount of interaction. Maybe this little Visionary guy is a bit rubbish. Let's trim another Beanstalk, I suppose. Actually, that little guy's probably better than the Beanstalks here. We're kind of cutting a lot of our top end. Alright. We've got a bonus game, basically. That's what I'm going to treat this as. Like, can't keep this one. If we had a green source, which apparently our deck can't produce, it would have been good. Okay, we're relying on this to produce us a green source again, but this is where we're at. Maybe lose one of the crop rots. Cast out paying its mana cost. Let's have a look. We found the green source. Hallelujah. So we play this one out now so we can at least crop rotate to stop Guy's Will lines. A Glimmerpost. Right, so we're going to play this Flagstones out now. And then we're going to crop rotate it away, so that'll give us enough mana to then next turn Green Sun Zenith for Collector Ouphe while still holding up the crop rotation. Oh wait, no, we won't be holding up the crop rotation, will we? Because we'll be casting it. But it means we can hold up another one if we draw it, and we can also hold up March for Otherworldly Light. Interesting. My thoughts is they're going to take the Green Suns here regardless. So I think we allow them to have the option of making the mistake to take the crop rotation. They should be taking the Green Sun Zenith every time here though. Right, so there's the Ezra Saga. I think we have to hold this crop rotation for the Bojuka Bog line. A Glimmerpost. Sure, we'll play it and gain an inconsequential. Well, it's not inconsequential. It requires one more storm to kill us. But they're probably going to do Saga Beatdown this game. Right, Fault of Whispers tapping for a Grindstone. Okay. I'm going to play a Painter here. They are not great. That's how I describe that. Oh, they're just killing us now. Okay. Well, they're not killing us. They're killing us next turn with the Solgar Lantern. Is there a way we can stop them getting Solgar Lantern? I think the play we have to make here is a weird one. I think we crop rotate away our Flagstones into a Boseiju. That way, if we draw a crop rotation or a... Yeah, if we draw a crop rotation or the Selesnya bounce land, we can then bounce a Boseiju to our hand and then use it against their Painted Servant. It's a weird play, but I think it's the best one we have available. Because instead of being a one-outer to draw this, or I guess maybe we could... Once upon a time, we've got more outs because we can draw crop rotations. If we get paid out for this line, I'm going to feel really smart. Alright, I don't feel very smart now. Well, that's not true. It was still a great play. It just means that we're dead anyway. Alright, opponent. Beat me with my own deck, please. I think I went for... I don't know, was it 4-1 I went with the painted deck? But yeah, we are just stone cold dead here. I guess we should present the possibility of a Force of Vigor. Oh, excuse me, yawning there. Yeah, we should present the possibility of a Force of Vigor, so that we can, so we might be able to blow up the Painted Servant in response. All right, they're just going for it, so it's just GG's there. Yeah, so what they're going to do is they're going to exile a whole graveyard with their cast trigger on stack. All right, so we have fallen down to 1 and 3, so we're going to try and just hit the 2-3 now with the final round. All right, this opening hat seems a bit more like it, I suppose. We can play a Cloudpost out, and then another Cloudpost, and we're getting pretty close to Primeval Titan here. It's like turn 4 Titan. But our opponent is a deck that has access to... Why do they do it that way around? That's interesting. Maybe they've got a 1-drop there. We're trying to see if it was necessary. Alright, so our opponent is a Wasteland deck with cheap efficient spells. I think if we can dodge Wastelands, we might win this game. But otherwise, we're probably going to lose it. Alright, we've dodged a Wasteland this turn. We're only taking 1. Our opponent also is missequenced in terms of their Dragon's Rage Channeler and the Bauble, which is helping us out a little bit. Let's play an Expedition map around a daze. Force of Will pitching daze. Sure. So next turn we can hold up crop rotation, and if necessary we can March Otherworldly like their Dragon's Rage Channeler. Right, so now I have a 3-3, so the clock is certainly increasing there. Another March of Otherworldly Light. I'd rather not expose our green source, but I think having the ability to play the crop rotation is important, so here we are. Please play a land. Okay, I was hoping they'd play a land before combat. Let's cast this. It didn't need to be X equals 2, only need to be X equal 1 there. Force of Will, Pitching Days, sure. We can make the same play next turn as well if we want to. Murktide. 1, 2. It's only going to have 2 instant sorceries. It's only going to be a 5/5. I say only, but that's still a lot. Once upon a time. That's an interesting one. Alright, I am going to cast this and probably use the Karakas. I kind of want this Cloudpost, but it's not really going to be doing the work for us, is it? Because we need a white source here. So if we take the forest for next turn, I guess taking the Cloudpost is +2 mana the following turn. So that's still fine, actually. Let's play this one out. This is currently 1. Let's just get rid of this Channeler now. So next turn we have 3, 6, 7, 8 mana. So we can cast a Green Sun Zenith around a daze. Green, 3, 6. Alright, we're just in here, aren't we? Primeval Titan. Stifling the Trigger. Very rude. Okay. They got a Lightning Bolt. They got a Bowmasters. That's not a Lightning Bolt. They can put us to 1. They do a Lightning Bolt on the top. Sure. Sometimes your opponent will have it all. Okay. Yeah, we got through a lot of counter spells there. And then a Lightning Bolt. Not great for us. I don't mind Endurances here, and I don't mind Swords to Plowshares here. I think Titania is probably not great here. Collector Ouphe isn't something we require. This 2 mana guy that gets Lightning Bolt just feels terrible. And we have one more trim here. What is that going to be? Maybe it's a crop rotation against a counterspell deck. We can still have them in against Wastelands and things like that. This hand is no good. This hand is much better. Throw back the Ulamog. Let's get our little Reclaimer up. We can start doing stuff with it. Unless they just bolt it right now. Sure. There's the Lightning Bolt. Over to us. Do I want another basic? Probably not. Let's get this Glimmerpost down. Let's go for an elf here. Alright, we're in. So our opponent is representing Orcish Bowmasters over there. I think we play out this Yavimaya. And then we can turn one of our lands into a Cloudpost. Here's a little orc friend, I suspect. There it is. Now, we're not going to block here if they attack with it, because that just means they have another Bowmasters. I don't really want to walk into that. Dragon's Rage Channeler. Sure, that's fine for now. A Wasteland. Okay, that's an annoying one. That means you can't really crack off our Reclaimer. Let's play Savannah. And we'll pass. Here is a Brainstorm. Are we supposed to... If we're supposed to march the world like this, we're supposed to have done it on our turn. Yeah, we've just given him a free Surveil that we didn't need to there. Alright, just going to straight up Force of Will, aren't they? Alright. A Lightning Bolt. I think we are going to turn our Yavimaya into a Cloudpost. Yeah, we'll just Wasteland this though. Sure. If they didn't Wasteland this, we might have been able to get them. But why wouldn't they Wasteland it? Okay, a Cloudpost. Just saying there's a chance. So next time we Vesuva copy Cloudpost. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when we untap, we have enough mana to prime time. And they're only bashing for 3, so that's not the worst. Alright, next turn we can make a prime time. A round of days. But our opponent's had time to draw some more cards. No cantrip. They just sat there with a Stifle is what's happening here. 3. 4, wait, 3, 6, 7 mana. Force of negation. Okay. Our opponent very much having it all here. Play this to buy us a little bit more time. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we can cast an Ulamog if we draw it. But we're very unlikely to draw. Oh, we should have put Yorion into hand. That was an error. We can put Yorion into hand and play it next turn anyway, but that was not very mana efficient of us. Although maybe it plays around a Thoughtseize and it is correct to do it that way. Companion. This is the first time we're putting Yorion into our hand, I think. Okay, so play this out. We're going to get ourselves a white source. Now we get another. We get another Savannah. We'll cast this. So that's for a bunch of mana. White. White. This is now the biggest thing on the board. How do they have another forcible blue card? This is outrageous. Wowzers trousers. Yeah, the magic gods are not on our side. Sometimes you get days where it just doesn't quite go right for you. This feels like one of them. Like sometimes you're in your opponent's seat and it just feels like you can't do anything wrong and you just have a wonderful time. So fair enough. Alright. Let's get some more life. Keep ourselves alive for a bit longer. I don't really want to plow this Dragon's Channel while it's a 1-1. I'd rather try and plow. Okay, a 3-3 or Murktide was what I was more worried about. Because Murktide would be large. Am I supposed to take this damage on the chance they play a Murktide? 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we are just supposed to plow this. I did not draw another. No Murktide. Okay. This is good. This is good. We want to commit to combat. Let's ping away this DRC. It's unholy eating our guy straight away, sure. But it saves us a little bit of damage. They left the card on top, so I've got a horrible feeling they have a Murktide over there. We will play this. Murktide will kill us in one swing. I'm trying to think what you would put on top. It wasn't Murktide. Alright, this doesn't change the clock right now. We'll take the marginal thinning aspect. Thespian stage. Sure, that doesn't really help us out here. Gives us another Cloudpost, but that's not really the problem we have right now. Okay. I'm just going to wasteland this Cloudpost in response. I'm going to wasteland the Thespian stage, sure. Same, well, it's not the same difference. It stops us from being able to Dark Depths and stuff, so it's correct. Up the Beanstalk. Either way, we get one draw step. But our opponent also gets a draw step here. No, wait, that's not. If we cast this up the Beanstalk, we die on our opponent's next turn. If we don't cast it, if we cast it and it finds a Solitude, our opponent could also is more likely to have a piece of interaction or a bolt or something. So I think we are supposed to cast this now. So we tap this for a bunch, play this. This resolves, we're okay. Ish. Yeah, sometimes your opponent just has absolutely everything. That was an absolute hot draw from both games from them there. I don't think any deck is realistically going to be beating that. That was gross. Alright, let's talk about this deck. We finished 1-4. So obviously, when we finish with a 1-4 record, it's pretty safe to say that the deck we're playing is not great. And I think that definitely applies here. We're definitely doing some good stuff, but I think there's some fundamental problems with a deck like this, where we are getting more powerful options in our deck. You know, we've got this nice little Solitude package and stuff like that, which is quite cool. And Up the Beanstalk is obviously a very powerful card. And we saw how easily we smash through control. However, the problem is, if you do this to your deck, the percentages are now against you to draw the right cards in the right order. Because you've made your deck bigger, it's going to be harder for you to find your big payoffs. And, like, even the mana base of Cloudpost decks just trying to cast simple green spells is a bit awkward. So splashing for another colour is a bit awkward. We also got into a few situations where Selesnya Sanctuary, whilst being a nice thing that you can go and find, if you ever draw it in your hand, is like an enormous liability. And we don't have any Pithing Needles in our deck to protect us from Wasteland. So this just feels like awkward. Now, to be fair, we're an 80 card deck, so we shouldn't be drawing it that often. So we did draw it more often than maybe we should have done in opening hands that caused us to mulligan and stuff like that. So maybe that's just on variance there, but this card can be a bit of a liability. It is nice to be able to Primeval Titan and immediately get a Boseiju into your hand. That is certainly some cool tech right there. Or, you know, bouncing Glimmerpost, getting more life, that sort of jam. So that's definitely something. But there was some tension with us trying to cast our spells. And because we haven't got Pithing Needles in our deck, and we're a bigger deck, it just means that our ability to actually play the game sometimes is really tough. Like, we lost to 3 Wasteland decks and 1 combo deck. Now, I said we'd lose to combo decks all the time, right? But we should be beating some of these Wasteland decks as a Cloudpost deck if we were regular mono-green Cloudpost. Because you have the Pithing Needles as a 4-of in your main deck. So that just helps you out there. Whereas we don't have that. And like, our game plan of just casting Solitudes and stuff is okay. But if we're kind of struggling with our mana, then how realistic is that? It just didn't feel like we had enough lands, right, in our deck. So let's have a look here. So let's just zoom out a little bit here because we've got a big thing. So let's take out all the lands that don't actually tap for mana here as well, because obviously that's not very useful for us. Dark Depths doesn't. Eye of Ugin doesn't. So Vesuvas do tap for mana, but they require you to need something else at the same time. Same with Selesnya Sanctuary. Isn't necessarily starting mana. So we've got 28 lands plus 3 like lands that most of the time are going to be okay, but that's still only what, 31 lands, and I think our deck wants more like 35, considering what we're trying to accomplish here. This does feel like not enough lands to me. And we're running some cute stuff that doesn't feel very good to me, like this guy. There's a reason why I didn't know what this card does, and I'd never seen it before. It's because I don't think this is a legacy playable card. I think it's cute, and that's not really what we want. I think I'd rather just have some more lands in the deck. I think that would just be better for us. I think we probably should have boarded in Cavern of Souls in that last match, actually. We didn't board in the Cavern. That could have been slightly more useful than some things we had. But yeah, it just felt like we were struggling to do our thing, and we were undone by like single Wastelands. And we basically had 2 fundamental problems throughout this league. We either had trouble getting our mana underneath us to do the things we needed, or we had trouble finding a payoff. And both of those things are results of playing an 80 card Yorion deck. It's just going to give you less chance to find the things you need. And I think the things we're getting from doing that are just not good enough. Like, we don't need Up the Beanstalk that much to sort of like draw into other bits and pieces and kind of get some card advantage. I don't think that's necessary, because if we're in a 60 card deck, we're just more likely to find this stuff anyway. And maybe Beanstalk in a 60 card deck would be okay, actually. But also, like, our late game is like basically the best game in town, right? We're just playing hard casting Emrakul every turn by bouncing it with Karakas. Like, do we really need? Maybe it's there to get us there, but if we're already casting 5 and 6 drops, that's basically casting Primeval Titan. If we're casting Primeval Titan, then we're probably winning the game, because that's what Primeval Titan does most of the time. Like, it has some nice synergy with the Solitude, but I'm not really sure we should be playing Solitude. We don't have enough white cards to pitch to it. We're like, what, like 12 white cards? Not even that in the main deck. It just feels like some pretty shoddy deck building, because the Solitude isn't something we're reliably pitch casting anyway, so we're not really getting the bonus from here. And casting this for 2 white pips in our deck that is colourless green as our sort of 2 colours is bad, right? I just don't think we should be playing white in our deck. Now, Swords to Plowshares is a good card. I don't think March Otherworldly Light is where you want to be, really, but Swords to Plowshares, that certainly does help a little bit, because normally Cloudpost decks can struggle with some creatures. But I think we could probably... And obviously Deafening Silence out of the sideboard is nice too. But I just don't think this is where we want to be with this sort of deck. I think you want to be playing a 60-card deck, so you're just a tighter package. I think this is a case of there's too many things have been added into this deck. And it means that the thing that our deck's supposed to do is now a lot less consistent. So we've just made a less consistent deck that's easier to hate out because we don't have Pith and Needles and things, and also our mana base is worse. And that's just not a great place to be. Now, if you play this deck and have all the tools and you draw well, then sure, I think maybe with a deck like this, your ceiling might be a little bit higher than regular green Cloudpost because you have all these other cards to try and help you navigate through the game. But I think the floor of this deck and the average where the deck sits is a lot lower than regular green Cloudpost because we're playing all these other things and making what we're doing less reliable. Now, yeah, sometimes playing just decks with high ceilings and running hot is a good idea because at the end of the day you do have to run hot to win a tournament. But I would rather have a deck that is going to be a higher average that I can leverage my play into this higher average and win games with it. That is much more my sort of jam there. I want a deck that does the thing it does reliably, and this is just simply not it. Yeah, it started out quite nicely. Like we bashed the control deck. Like you're still going to smash control decks with this deck day in, day out, even though they were a wasteland control deck actually. But it feels like adding in the Swords to Plowshares and stuff to try and help the tempo matchup isn't necessarily helping as much as you'd want it to. I don't think white spells that require you to pitch other white cards when you barely have any is going to work either. Yeah, I just think there's too many fundamental issues with this deck. Maybe if we were to play more lands in the deck for a start, that would help. So get these two little guys to be some more lands. That would give us 30 plus these 7 sort of landish type things. That would certainly help. Swap one of the Solitudes for a Plow because that's going to be easier. I don't think we should be in up the Beanstalk deck either. But then at that point, you're changing the deck so much that why are we playing this? Are we just splashing white purely for Plow? Is that worth doing? I don't think so. I don't know. I can't feel a way into this deck to come at it to make it worthwhile. Like obviously, you want to run Karakas anyway, so you will have a white card in your deck. But yeah, it feels like it's trying to do too many things and has lost sight of the fundamentals of what the deck's trying to achieve. Nevertheless, I hope you enjoyed this one and saw some cool stuff. I am a little bit sad we didn't get to do any Shigeki, Jukai Visionary. We never got to activate this either as a channel or in play. So we didn't really get to see much of it. But again, I think there's a reason why this card is just not very good. But nevertheless, we tried something out, which is part of the fun here. And we've maybe taken the hit so you didn't have to. And at the end of the day, it was a donor deck. And I'm glad that I got to see something because I hadn't actually seen... I don't think I'd seen this deck in action before, so it was nice to have a little go on it. We learned some important things and hope you had a bit of fun watching it. If you would like a donation deck on the channel, by all means get in touch either via my Discord or you can leave a comment and I'll get back to you. It's $20 or £15 to do a donation deck. So if that's something that appeals to you, by all means have a look at that. Also have a Patreon as well if you want to support the channel, but the best things you can do as well is just to keep watching my content and like and subscribe to the channel. You know, it doesn't cost you anything. Sharing it as well. The free stuff really matters. And also, just keep playing Legacy. It's a great format, and I really encourage everyone to get into it. And it's relatively affordable online as well. Anyway, I've been rambling enough, so thank you very much for watching this one, and goodbye.